It is an absolute pleasure to welcome author Debbie Manber Kupfer to our new series of author interviews. Welcome, Debbie, who is currently based in St. Louis, Missouri, USA, but originally from England. And thank you so much for taking the time to share your book with teachers here in the UK. I believe that the book that we'll be exploring today is called Adana The Earth Dragon. But before we get stuck into your book, tell us a bit more about yourself. How did you become to be a writer of children's books?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. I'm really happy to be here. Well, I've been writing children's stories ever since I was a kid. I used to carry around with me exercise books and write in stories when I went, at school. I remember there was an old English sheepdog called Rodney that used to walk around our school playground. I used to write stories about him. And as a kid, I used to get a magazine, the Puffin Post. And I used to write stories and send them in to them and read all the other people's stuff. And I managed to get like a mention in the Puffin Post for one of the things I sent them, which I was so excited about. And I was like, oh no, I think I was like 8 or 9 when that happened. So, and then I just continued through my life writing different things. But I never really, for most of my life, I never really got anything finished. I just had books and books and books of things I'd written, but not actually finished. And then back in 2011, my father passed away. And so shortly after that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And learning your own mortality really gives you a picture of, what you really want to do with your life. And it started making me take my writing seriously. And I had an idea in my head for a novel series, a YA series at the time. And I started writing it. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And eventually I found a publisher for that one. And that's currently a 6-book YA fantasy series that I have out. Not what I'm talking about today, but yes. And then, that's called the Pause Saga. That would be more suitable for your older readers, for people in secondary school around that age and up. And yes, that's available on Amazon. I have 6 books out now, and I'm working on books 7 and 8 at the moment. So those are those.
Wow.
And then actually online, I met my illustrator for Adana, who's a wonderful woman from Sri Lanka called Tina Vijayaseri. And when I sent her my story, and she made my dragon come to life. So that's how Adana was born, that particular, and I have a few other children's picture books as well.
And it's so interesting how the source and the spirit of books comes from so many different things. Mm-hmm. Having interviewed several authors, there's lots of common threads. One of which is making sure that they are always writing. Many of them speak about having either a journal or a diary or something from childhood days, right until they're adults, and then suddenly deciding, you know what, I'm going to take this seriously. But for you, it's a deeper pathway. Certainly, as you mentioned, having come to face with certain challenges in your own life, that has certainly inspired you to create. So out of a negative has come great positive, of which I'm sure you are quite proud to have achieved. So well done. So do give us a bit of a summary about Adana and the Adana the Earth Dragon. We'd like to hear more about what this book is about.
Okay, well, this is the book. This is my little dragon. As I said, the pictures in here were drawn by a wonderful young lady from Sri Lanka called Tina, who I adore. She hand paints all the pictures in watercolor, so it's beautiful. Oh. Adana is a small brown earth dragon who lives by herself in a cave. She doesn't think she's very special. She doesn't really have any other friends. She's the only earth dragon, and there are many water dragons, fire dragons, and air dragons, all pretty colors that do special things. And she's just a little dragon who likes to sit in a cave, do her own thing. And that's what she thinks. She thinks her life. And then until one day, a big giant walks into the world. It walks into their world, the world of the dragons. And he starts stomping on the flowers and the other things and scaring the other dragons. And they get kind of, the other big dragons get kind of scared, and they run to Adana and they basically ask her for help, and she doesn't know what she could do. I mean, she's just a small little dragon. So later we'll read some and find out a little more. But yes, that's the basis of the story.
So just to clarify, what age group specifically would you say would readily access Adana the Earth Dragon?
Okay, I'd say you're talking, well, there's two levels. There's the kids who are read to, in which case I think it works for nursery, preschool, and kindergarten, the early grades. And if they're reading themselves, then you're talking about the first few years of reading.
So as you know, reading for pleasure is quite an important part of children's learning. It really is about widening access to books, widening choice, and where children have the freedom to explore a variety of books. We have seen in the research that it really creates a thirst for more that impacts on the rest of the curriculum in a very positive way. In terms of this, I'd like to know how reading Adana the Earth Dragon would be a best placed book in the classroom setting itself. How does it connect to the national curriculum here?
First of all, it's a connection to the children, connection to a lot of kids grow up thinking that they're not particularly, that they don't have a lot of things, that they're just plain and ordinary and other people are special and not them. So this is the main base message here. We've got, whoever you are, whatever you do, there's something special about you, something that connects. A lot of kids, there's a tone of bullying at the beginning, that maybe these other dragons don't think much of her and she's just been stepped away and she's been stereotyped as being, because she's quiet, because she's different, because she's the only one of her kind. So that's the base message. That's the base message that it's coming through there. And when I've been into classrooms, I've stopped and talked about that a lot. Like, what do you think? What do you think about Dana? This? What do you think the other people, the other dragons should have included her in the games? Could they find a way to include her? Because they'll say things. She'll go to the water dragons and she can't swim, so the water dragons don't want to play with her because she can't play with them. But maybe there was a way they could include her or help her learn or something like that. So it's all about inclusion and bringing people in. The other part of it is I released the book originally on Earth Day because it has a sub-environmental theme. The thing that really annoys Adana and makes her want to do something is that the giant is destroying the flowers in her world and stomping them, and she really cares about she cares about the campfires, cares that it feels like he's so large, he doesn't believe and understand what he's doing. He just came in, stomped him, doesn't really. So it's not like she's not saying, oh, he must be a bad person or something, but rather maybe he doesn't understand. Maybe we can help him understand, that this is, that we need to care for them. We need to care for our surroundings and things around you. So that's the secondary message of the book. That message of the book.
What a lovely twist to the character, the fact that she herself had experienced being excluded, experienced bullying, experienced being judged or stereotyped. And as a result of that, her treatment for this other character that comes stomping in and destroying all the flowers is of such sensitivity to that, such empathy. It's a matter of, I know what it feels like to not be understood and not passing that on to somebody else. So that's in itself is a beautiful lesson for children, for younger children especially, to learn. as they go about their daily lives. An excellent PSHE theme in terms of developing friendships, empathy, tolerance even, and I can certainly see how this would be a beautiful addition to any classroom. So without further ado, I would like to definitely hear more about what Adana the Earth Dragon is up to. So I shall hand over to you now for reading an extract from your book.
So here is Adana the Earth Dragon, and I will try and stop everything to show some of the beautiful pictures too. Once upon a time, there was a small brown dragon called Adana. Adana was an earth dragon, and Adana was very sad. She longed to play with the other dragons, but none of them would accept her as a friend. It's because I'm small and brown and boring, she said. No one wants to be friends with an earth dragon. And here she is.
Oh,
Looks a little sad.
Mm.
The air dragons would soar through the sky, their wings outstretched. Adana wished she could join them up in their playground of clouds, but she had no wings. So here are the pretty yellow air dragons. There we go. Here we are. The water dragons would glide effortlessly through the lagoon, playing tag and Marco Polo. Adana yearned to join them in their games, but sadly, she could not swim. This is probably my favourite picture in the book, is the painting of the water dragons. The fire dragons scared little Adana with their tremendous scaly scarlet forms and flames that could toast 200 marshmallows with one puff. Adana secretly tried gargling with fire water to see if she might make a flame, but she only gave herself a sore throat. Poor Adana, she could never be a fire dragon. Fire dragons. And then, so sad little Adana slunk into her cave, curled up in the corner, and took a nap. So she curls up like a little kitty cat. While she was sleeping, a giant wandered into the land of the dragons. He was spotted first by the air dragons. They flew down from the clouds and into the giant's face. The giant laughed at them and swatted them away. The terrified air dragons flew right into Adana's cave, where they crouched nervously on the ground. So here's the giant.
Oh.
Looks a little scary to them. Shows how small the dragons really are. Next, the giant decided to wade through the lagoon of the water dragons. Sploosh! The giant's footsteps were so heavy that nearly all the water sloshed out of the edge of the lagoon. See a big splosh on the page? The giant laughed.
Yes.
But the dragons were furious. They leapt at the dragon, but he casually swatted them away. Now all the water dragons had boo-boos and no water to swim in. So they quickly waddled right into Adana's cave. The giant shook himself off and wandered on towards the lair of the fire dragons. Inside Adana's cave, it was getting rather crowded. A couple of the braver dragons peeped out of the doorway and saw the giant walking towards the fire dragons. Good, they thought. The fire dragons will put a stop to him. So there they are, all looking out from the cave. The fire dragons were busy playing toss the fireball. I didn't see the giant coming until it was too late. he marched right into the middle of their game. The fire dragons were furious. They shot their flames at the giant, but the giant just shrugged off their attacks. His skin was far too thick to be bothered by their puny flames. The giants continued trying to attack, but it was no use, and eventually they too were forced to flee to Adana's cave. So there they are playing toss the fireball, or trying to. Adana woke up and stretched. She looked around the cave. What were all those other dragons doing there? Excuse me, she asked, bleary-eyed from sleep. Why are you all in my cave? The dragons all started talking at once. There's a giant. He's big. He's scary. Help us. But you're dragons. You breathe fire. You fly. You soar through the water. I'm just a little earth dragon. But the giant, he's mean. There's Adana waking up. Slowly, Adana walked to the door and looked out. The giant was stomping around. Hey, he's messing up the flowers, she said angrily. He can't do that. But what could she do? The giant was much bigger than her, and she didn't want to get stomped on. And if all the other dragons couldn't match the giant, well, what could one little earth dragon do? And that's where I'm going to stop. So,
excellent opportunity for prediction, I would imagine. Absolutely. And such beautiful illustrations, no doubt, could also inspire Key Stage 1 children to want to create their own dragon, their own special dragon. So thank you so much, Debbie, for sharing your wonderful book with teachers. It's always, as I always say, a pleasure to hear the author's voice behind the children's books. Can you just explain to teachers where they can access your book? Where can they buy it?
Yes, and while I do that, I'll also say that there's more than one book. There's also a colouring activity book that goes with the book that you can also buy online.
Oh, fantastic!
So I've had teachers take this into the classroom, and they're allowed to make copies, or the kids can get their own, and then they can carry on doing different things. They have Dr. Dots and whatever, all different puzzles to go with this. So yes, mostly in the UK, mostly on Amazon. You'll find me under Debbie Manber Kupfer. Debbie Manber Kupfer. If you look me up on Amazon.uk, you can also go to my website. I'm at Debbie Manber Kupfer wordpress.com. I have a sales page on there, and I do have some ways of getting books to the UK directly from me as well. And I have pretty bookmarks you can pick up and things like this.
And I can imagine that many teachers will be enthralled by your book, and not just this one, so many others that you have mentioned. So we look forward to hearing more about your books as your writing journey continues. I will make sure that links for Adana the Earth Dragon are placed in this video. Thank you so much for joining the ReadMaster for UK Teachers platform, home of the author's voice. And once again, it was lovely to have you on the program. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.